Sir, come in. Are you ready for some wrestling match? I know we are. I'm Paul, and once again it's been a busy week, so let's get into it. But first...
Whoa. Shut up.
What?
Idiot. It's no WrestleMash.
Oh!
It's episode 100!
Yes! That's right. Thank God for that. You cut me off in the middle of my spiel there.
So, hello and welcome to the Midweek Mashed Tattie Sportscast. This is episode 100.
Yes.
And we're pretty much flying by the seat of our pants in this one. There will be the usual sports chat, but we're going to take a bit of time to just sort of look back at the first 100 episodes of the podcast and just kind of relive a couple of our sort of fond memories, if you like. And then, no doubt, there'll be some hilarity afoot. We'll get into some, I don't know, funny stories or jokes, or we'll see what's going on, see what the crack is. So,
absolutely.
how do you want to start, boys?
Oh, well, one of us give a favourite moment, then another. We'll just kind of ABC it around the room.
That seems reasonable.
Sounds good, right?
Any volunteers?
I don't know my favourite. Well, no, I know my favourite. My favourite moment. Sorry.
So is it? Was that
me.
Was that you putting your hand up to
Harvey
volunteers?
raised his hand off camera.
That's me raising my hand. But I was going to say my funniest, and then I don't know. My mind just got confused. Then I don't know what happened. But I'd say probably my favourite moment was when we all three of us were together watching the wrestling.
No way.
At Paul's house.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. That was fun, man. I like that.
Was that all out?
All out.
Correct?
So that was all out with the three of us, and it was on YouTube live streamed at the time.
Aye.
When was that? Was
that in November?
September? That would have been start of September.
September.
Literally start of September, and that was down here in sunny air. Well, it was kind of windy, sort of wet air, really.
Dark, because it was night.
Dark air, because it was night time, obviously, because evening time in America is middle of the night over here.
Michael was so confident he knew how to get to. I can't where I'm going. I was just going here and going there. We were close though. We were close.
Well, I mean, I wasn't necessarily in the ideal car park. However, I was within 20 or 30 yards of the house, so I think I did pretty well.
We were walking the other way.
You knew how close you were.
We were like, if we just go
it
that
was
way.
Like a failed successful sort of thing. It was
exactly.
Summed up the podcast.
And sort of inside joke here, like, for anybody that's not heard us talk about it before, the basic philosophy of this podcast is fail successfully. we just do things, whatever we think is the right thing to do, we do it. Oftentimes it's a complete fail, but some good comes out of it.
Aye.
So we consistently fail successfully.
Aye.
It's a good mantra to live by. But that was a good night of wrestling. That that was
It was my favourite.
Danielson debut. God,
Adam Cole, I believe, debut as well.
Suzuki.
That was the big finale, wasn't it?
That was the mad finale where we were going nuts at. Aye.
Was that the Suzuki and Mox match?
No, I think Mox wrestled. Oh God, who was it? It was another New Japan Pro Wrestling legend. I'm going to kick myself for forgetting who it is. The blue. Oh God, never mind. Aye. No, I know the blue. I'd imagine it was the Blue Meanie just dancing about the ring, shaking the tits at him. But aye, so Suzuki came out at the end and they kind of traded blows, I'm sure, if I remember.
Right.
Aye, it was awesome, man. I remember watching the main event and we're going, right, aye, come on, hurry up. Because you needed to go home with the car, man.
Aye, for Sharita.
Aye, that's right. Aye, the missus was on the delivery shift.
Aye.
She was on a delivery shift the following morning, so I had to race home to gear the car so she could get to work time. And if memory serves, I think she ended up being about 10 minutes late for her shift.
Aye, that's right. Aye.
But it wasn't my fault. Like, AEW ran over at slotted time, so what can you do?
It's an overrun. Aye. What can you do?
Satoshi. Who were we trying to figure out there? Was it John Moxley?
Aye.
Satoshi.
Kojima. Inside my head, I was going Kojima, and I'm thinking, nah, no Kojima. Aye, Kojima. Damn it.
And then
Always
Chris
wears a blue
Jericho. Remember Chris Jericho and MJF had that match
That's
set up.
right,
that
man.
night.
Oh, that was the final because today the
Labours of Jericho.
Labours
Aye.
of that's what it was. Yep.
Aye, that's right.
Aye.
God, aye, good times, man. Feels ages ago.
Paul White.
That's right, God. Where?
QT Marshall.
QT
Aye.
Marshall.
Battle them in 2 minutes.
Aye.
And that's
Chokeslam.
wait, is that when Christian beat Omega?
No, Omega beat Christian, obviously.
Was it
Christian
was
beat
a couple
Omega
weeks later?
aye, he beat him for the Impact title just before that pay-per-view.
Ah,
On the
that's
first
what it
ever
was. That's
Rampage,
what
wasn't
was.
it? Aye.
That's what it was.
The CM Punk's
Ah,
debut
good
match
times.
against Darby Allin. It was class. That was
Cracking
an
pay-per-view.
epic show.
It was, and then the Lucha Brothers and the Young Bucks mind.
Oh
Aye.
God,
Cage
the cage match. Aye, that's right. That was incredible. That was mental. Well, I'm gonna be up front. That was number 2 out of my 3, by the way. Was All Out Watch Along with friends.
Aye. I
And
mean, that's
I was gonna talk about it as well. It was gonna be 2 or 3 hours.
So there you go.
You've screwed us. Screwed us all.
sorry.
Mashed Tattie screwed Mashed Tattie. God, man. But it was probably definitely one of the best wrestling pay-per-views of the past 20 years at least, I would say. It was awesome, man. It was good fun.
I loved it.
It
Cracking
was
it
great
wrestling.
fun. It was bloody genius,
Cracking
man.
it wrestling. The first time, I think the first time in maybe 10, 15 years that I had deliberately stayed up to watch wrestling. Like stayed up late to watch wrestling. I've done it many a time over the years for UFC events and stuff, but I hadn't. Like when I was younger, I would stay up to watch WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, SummerSlam. Like when I was proper into WWE, I would stay up for the big pay-per-views, but I hadn't done it in years. So, it was a big deal for us, I suppose.
It was I? I just mind sitting
I was
there
like cementing me and Harvey as AEW fans.
Aye.
I've got to say, if I could take this opportunity to put down my first one was, and that's dragging you two back into the madness that is pro wrestling. When we started the podcast, we each had our sections where we were going to educate one another on what we were kind of talking about, and and the other two would react off it. We've now got 3 pro wrestling fans on the podcast every week.
Yep.
3 guys that watch it every week.
Aye.
Religiously watch AEW, man. That's genius, man.
Aye. I remind you just like saying you were going to talk about pro wrestling. I was like, oh, WWE. No, thank you. But then you started talking about AEW, and I was like, AEW. Like I had heard about it, but I didn't really know much about it. And then just through the time, I was like, actually, aye, AEW is
one of my favourite quotes from the first episode was Michael coming away with, I mean, I've heard it's a place where kind of wrestlers go after WWE, kind of finish guy, retirement home, if you will. And I'm like, this is going to be fun.
I was a WWE show. I was, man. I grew up when, well, to be fair, I'd go into WCW before I got into WWE. And I was a big ECW fan as well when I was younger. But just because of the nature of the business, like I had watched WWE religiously week on week for years and years and years and years. And as it got more and more shite, I started looking elsewhere, and I watched Ring of Honor for a while. I watched TNA for a while, which obviously went on to become Impact. And I would, because they were, well, Ring of Honor, it's an indie show, so it's a different kind of product. TNA, now Impact, it floats somewhere in between indie and WWE. It's not quite as big production as WWE, but it tries to disassociate itself from indies a wee bit. And so I would fall in and out of love with them, and WWE would just consistently disappoint me. So it got to the point where I would keep an eye on what was happening in WWE, but I wasn't really watching wrestling anymore prior to the podcast. So it's been really cool for me to get back into pro wrestling. So I owe a debt of gratitude to you for that, I've got to say, Paul.
No problem, mate. I'm just glad to bring more onto the team. Team Pro Wrestling, man. Aye. No, but that was my first one, mate. What about yourself, mate?
My biggest thing is probably in terms of like just sort of stuff that's happened while doing the podcast and stuff I've spoke about and that. It would be Francis Ngannou sort of
Oh God, the rise of
achieving his live stream and becoming a world champion. When he took the title off of Stipe Miocic, that was just a special moment, man, in sport. Like, if you know anything about the guy's life story, where he's came from, what he's went through to get to where he is, it was special, man. Really, really was. It was really cool to see.
Aye, absolutely. I mean, that's something, again, prior to the podcast, I was really largely kind of unaware of was this movie style kind of epic story of this guy who gets out of poverty, drags himself out of poverty across Africa, lives in France, and takes what would, I mean, he had natural talent, natural talent, and he turned himself with sheer hard work into one of the best in the world at it. Like,
yeah, he's got crazy physical gifts in terms of his size, but he's got a strange kind of power that, I mean, part of it will be genetic, but also a big part of it is the fact that he worked in a sand mine for he was 8 or 9 or whatever age that they started him at. So all he did for sun up to sundown was shovel sand. So you can imagine that that's going to build some serious strength and power through all the muscles that are involved in shoveling, which just happens to be most of the muscles in the body. It's a very demanding movement. So it's no wonder that he uppercuts the way he does. Like the uppercut that he claimed Alistair Overeem's soul with. Like, that's something that I think I'll probably always remember watching that. Just the visual of Overeem, especially when you see it in slow motion. Mm-hmm. The way Overeem's like lifted off his feet and his body goes limp in midair. It's just unreal. There's never been somebody like him. There's always in UFC and MMA and boxing, any given time, there's 1 or 2 guys that stand out for being really powerful and having crazy knockout power. There's never been a Francis Ngannou. The guy hits so much harder than anybody else. He's an absolute freak of nature in the best way.
Even his latest one, man, like he's all about that. He's meant to be this kind of big puncher guy, and he goes out and out wrestles Cyril Gane. Like he shows that there's no limit to what he can learn. Like
that was arguably as impressive, if not more impressive, than his wins like over Stipe Miocic when he won the title. Like he came into that fight with a crazy knee injury. His knee was destroyed, so he couldn't move and strike the way he wanted to. So he came in and wrestled. And he's not a wrestler, but he showed the skills that he's been able to develop over the last few years, and he had some big takedowns, some big slams on Gane, who's a monster in his own right. So, just wild.
Manhandled him, man. Epic. Barony Harvey, you got a second point there, Harvey Smith?
My number 2.
Oh, he's a number 2. No, that kind of number 2.
That number 2.
A second point. That'd be a big number 2. He's a big stinking number 2, Harvey.
It's like when we were talking. This is going way back. It's one of the podcasts was the emergence of Dagestani Dave. That's one of my favourite. We're just sitting there talking about Davey Martindale or whatever, and then you were just like,
we were talking about
Hasbulla. That's right. And then Paul just like, oh God, by the way,
he looks like David Martindale, and I'm like, who?
Aye, Michael just get who David Martindale was. I just pictured myself like, oh fuck,
It was part of my early days of the podcast slagging Davy Martindale a bit too much, and by Christ, it bit me in the arse now. Like,
aye.
Heavy bit me in the arse. They'll get relegated. The wee Dagestani man's taking them down. Wee Hasbull is no kind of football coach. How wrong was that?
Oh, God.
Oh, man. I still maintain that he might be Hasbull's dad.
Well, hi. I mean,
I still maintain he's
resemblance
get
is
Russian
uncanny.
FA coaching badges. Aye. If you ask him for his coaching accreditation, it's all in Russian. There's pictures of him with one of the big Russian hats on at a football park in a trench coat.
oh, God.
100%. It's real. Still a better manager than I gave him credit for, so they must be doing something right in Russia.
For anybody listening to this that's getting the idea of what we're on about, look at any of our social medias, go on YouTube. There is a clip, it should be on all the platforms, for the podcast when that came up and had Paul doing the voice and that. It's a funny clip. It's well worth going back and checking it.
Oh, man.
Oh, God, man. Good times, man. Good times.
That's my favourite moments are just good times between us, man, honestly.
Just good stuff, huh? Oh, God, man. Well, I think point 2 for me was the CM Punk. As a wrestling fan, obviously, I'm going back to CM Punk returning to pro wrestling and the excitement that caused in the pro wrestling world as one of the great mysteries of what would happen if he come back was answered.
That is what you would call a marquee signing.
That was definitely a marquee signing, yes. That really was. As a wrestling fan, I have went through many emotions with CM Punk as a wrestling fan when he wasn't in the business. All Elite Wrestling got formed and I thought, perfect. Somewhere for CM Punk and all the route. I mean, I think Tony Khan was quoted as saying he was immediately on to CM Punk to say, I'm still in a wrestling promotion. Please come check this out. And Punk's getting at nah, I'm fucked. Wrestling's done. I don't like it. I don't like wrestling anymore.
Yep.
I hate it and all this. I'm not doing it.
Yep.
And I remember he got signed up for the WWE on Fox where he presented it was like a news show about WWE that he was on. And I remember thinking, arsehole, you're an arsehole. You're just a classic wrestler. You're getting back where the money's good. And then he signed for AEW. And you found out more about what his thinking was. And it's awesome. As a wrestling fan, it's awesome. It's been awesome for the last 6 months that he's been back in.
It's his sort of timeline kind of falls in quite coincidentally with my sort of falling in out of love with wrestling as well, because I had, through sort of work in life, I had, in disappointment with WWE, I had started like watching WWE less regularly, and I was like trying Ring of Honor, or I was trying TNA or whatever it might be, and it was as sort of CM Punk rose through WWE that I started getting really into WWE again. I started watching Raw and SmackDown every week, and then as he came to the end of his run there is when I'm starting to then fall out of love with it again. And like the pipe bomb promo, like again, I was so disenchanted with the product that WWE was putting out that promo that he cut sitting on the stage really sort of, I could relate to it in a way, you know, what the stuff that he was talking about. And then obviously he goes in his sort of last run and he ends up leaving. I start falling out of love with it again. I get to the point where I'm just watching highlight videos on YouTube. I'm not watching the actual shows. And then eventually, you know, by the time Punk's done and by with wrestling and that whole thing, I'm basically done and by with wrestling as well. And then as I get back into AEW, into wrestling, I start watching AEW, the rumour mill starts, and then hey presto, here's Punk back again. Pretty mad.
Mental. I just remember I was watching it live the Wednesday before they announced the first dance show, and it was Darby Allin that said, "Even if you are the best of the world," and I was like, ah! Immediately going a little voice note to you guys. I'm like, CM Punk's wrestling again. They couldn't say this for any other reason. And then I think I talked myself out of it, and then it happened.
Yep.
And then it happened.
One of the worst kept secrets
Aye.
in wrestling, because they were just
Wild,
teasing
man.
it non-stop.
But it just shows you, like, what AEW has done in the world of wrestling. Like, they've made it relevant again to other people. Do you know what I mean? Like, who kind of fell out of love with WWE. And then one of arguably the biggest names in pro wrestling who fell out of love with wrestling because of WWE, to then kind of just take a little look at AEW, and then was like, oh, and then started getting back into it, fell back in love with wrestling because of AEW. Man. It just really shows you like what that company has done for the business.
It's changed the business for the better, mate. There's a choice for wrestlers now. They have power in their negotiations now. I mean, look at bloody Cody Rhodes, man. I mean, he's arguably walking back into WWE. It's rumoured, obviously. I'm sure it is true, but he's walking back on multi-million-pound deal, where previously when he left there, he was in $500,000 a year. He's panning as a mid-carder, just taking bumps. $500,000 a year was all he was getting. He's probably worth 10 times that now. Like, and that's a guy that wasn't even getting anywhere in AEW. Like, so it's wild. I mean, you can argue whether he's a big star or no. Harvey, I know you are completely convinced it's no great loss to AEW.
Well, I mean, like he worked so hard to try, and I mean the only problem I have going back to WWE is that he worked so hard to build AEW, and what did he say? There was something he said about WWE way back. I can't. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
There's several anti-WWE quotes about they don't let you make your own music. No, that's
exactly. They don't
get to make my own music. No,
blah 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 blah, and slagging them off, and then helping build this brilliant brand, like this brilliant wrestling promotion, and then it's like the minute things like are not going his way, the way that he wants it to go, he's just fucking off back to WWE. Like, the fuck is that? You worked so hard to build this. Okay, you've got to take your licks, man. You know what I mean? You've got to take the lows with the highs. Like, it's not gonna be smooth sailing all the time. Smooth seas never made an experienced sailor. You know what I mean? A master sailor. Like,
fucking brilliant. There is a quote, man.
Like, you know what I mean? You have to.
Sums it up though perfectly.
Aye. And now that he's getting a wee bit because Tony's took this wee thing away from me, like anyway. And a lot of stories that came out after, you're like, definitely it's him and his ego that's why he's not being offered anything at AEW again, because he wants this and he wants that. He wants control over this and control over that, and you can't have it all, man. Do you know what I mean?
No.
Like, now he's running back to them, which, okay, he's got to get a lot of money, but they've got to make a fucking cunt of him. Sorry for my language, but that's what's got to happen. I swear, that's what's got to happen.
Eventually I think that's true. I think
a couple of months down the line,
he's initially going to be the biggest star, but it'll slip quick.
I'm sure that when he goes in there, it's got to be like, oh yeah, Cody's back, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? Because, you know, the Rhodes name carries some weight in WWE, you know what I mean? But then couple of months and then he's going to go back into that costume and he's got to come out and he's got to be thinking to himself like, fucking hell, back in this bastard suit, my face painted this, like, and then he's just like, do you know what I mean? Like, he's like, nah.
It's the biggest redneck ever. I mean, his theme song that he's been using for the past 5 years is about WWE stopping him using his second name.
Aye,
like
that's Stardust.
Okay.
No, sorry.
Rhodes, because he used to just call himself Cody.
That's right. Aye.
I mean, he literally made a deal with WWE to sell them old pay-per-view names to get his second name back as a wrestler.
Like, all that day, like. It'll be Stardust soon. Don't worry.
Aye, well,
then he'll regret it,
being a starry suit.
and then it's just got to go downhill. Man. Honestly, I'm sure for a couple of months it'll be all dandy, and then just boom.
Right now, on the podcast, recorded for all to hear, how long does Cody Rhodes last in the WWE before he's leaving again?
3 years.
Okay, Paul says 3 years, Harvey.
3 years. I think they'll look to make a point of, look, we're nice guys. 3 years.
Well, you see, I would, if you had said the other way, said that Cody would last 3 years because he would try and make it look like, yes, I've made the right choice. So he'll be that stubborn person to stick it out, even though it's the worst. Like, he'll try and make it last as long to make it look like, it's the right decision. Year and a half for me.
Okay. I think around about the 12-month mark, he's going to realise how big a mistake he's made as he tumbles down the card. And I think that he stops wrestling for WWE inside the 18 months. How long he's tied up with him, I don't know, because I feel like they're probably not going to just release him. I think they'll come to cunt with him. To use that see you next Tuesday word again. So I think 12 to 18 months he's done and by with him in terms of his in-ring.
Aye.
And then how long it is before he's released for them, God knows. I suppose it depends on the deal that he's signing.
Well, I suppose we'll see. Maybe come episode 500 we'll know the answer. That's where I might get to, but then maybe you're thinking like 3 episodes per week, so on and so forth. Might start to get the picture, man. Interesting when it comes, man. Mick, I think it's you in it, man, for your next kind of point.
I think one of my favourite things, moments, whatever, sort of in sport and through the podcast is probably the culmination last season in Formula One, right up to the last lap. Right, if we just forget about that last lap of the last Grand Prix, the buzz that there was going into that last race, like Paul, I never heard you getting as excited about Formula One before that.
I've never been as excited about Formula One before.
I've been a fan of Formula One since I was really young, but I've had kind of peaks and troughs with it in terms of how much attention I've gave it. But the last couple of seasons I've been more into it, but this last season in particular, because of the podcast, I've been taking in everything that's been happening, and I was like so excited to see what happened in that final race because it was so down to the wire. It could have went either way. That was really cool, and also a nod to Sandy sort of coming on board for covering some of the content was. For Formula One, that's been really cool to sort of get
that by the way, he deserves huge praise.
Sandy coming on, oh god, Sandy is just brilliant. Like anytime I've asked him a question about, like Sandy is a proper F1 fan. Like, I mean, I'm a F1 fan, but Sandy, I love him, man. Brilliant. He goes into the real nitty-gritty, like, do you know what I mean? Aye.
He likes F1 the way myself, the way I like pro wrestling. Like he is he's dialed into it proper, man.
He is proper, yeah.
It was great to go on with him. So it was last week when it was the 4 days, because obviously the first time he came on, I missed it, so I did. So it was brilliant to sit in with him. He knows his stuff, man, and he's great banter with it. Like, proper bro.
Aye, well, that's a good point you brought up there, Michael. Sandy, man, fucking. Aye. Sand the man.
That's a good show, man. Sand the man indeed, man. Sand the man indeed.
Sand the man, the number one fan.
He definitely is, man. Barring yourself, have you, mate, for point 3? I think it is, isn't it?
Aye. Again, as I said, for me, I've just went with all, like, stuff that's made me chuckle or whatever, but I think I don't know. It's one maybe like Michael's Batman had the talk about Batman. That was hilarious. Or, you know, anytime we've done like the scripted stuff, it's been hilarious. Like, I like on Paul on the Wrestle Mash, you know what I mean? When we did the, what was it? Reading by Gentlemen. That's hilarious.
Oh, Harvey
and then
the
numbers
Scott
don't lie.
Steiner promo, man.
I couldn't hack it, man. Reading it, I could...
Genetic freak pattern.
Oh man, I don't know what happened. I read it before and I was like, "Hi, cool," but then reading it, trying to read it seriously, I couldn't. I just couldn't do it. Oh man, it was hilarious. Same with Michael with the Batman script. Funny. Oh god, there's a moment when he just started losing it. Where you could just hear him he just.
See, the problem, I think, well, I cannot speak for anybody, but it was the problem I had with the Batman one was like, I mean, I was doing really well, I was keeping a straight face and everything else, but it got to like the first kind of big punchline in it, the first really funny bit. And there's that sort of wee time delay between reading it, processing, and then saying what I've read. It's milliseconds, but it's enough for something in my brain to go, that is fucking hilarious. And then I just,
Everything about that was incredible, though, where it's like Two-Face picked up Alfred and threw him at Batman. He landed on his head, so Two-Face left.
Two-Face flips him like a coin.
Oh, flips him like a coin. That's because Batman threw Alfred, wasn't it? I think that was what the bot had come up with.
The part that Michael lost it when Batman, well, sorry, when Joker gave Batman his gift. And then it's a coupon for 2 new parents, and it's expired.
You know what? It's comedic genius because the bot deserves credit here, right? Because it's made a point. It's made a point to tell us that Batman Bruce Wayne is an orphan. It's then had the sort of first punchline of Batman looks around for his parents, but they're still dead, right? Which is fucking hilarious. It's so dark, but so hilarious. And then the big payoff of the whole scene, the whole script, is then Joker juggles a gift over to Batman. Batman opens it and it's a coupon for new parents, but it's expired. The hilarity of that, man, that is genius comedic writing.
Oh no, it's Two-Face and One Face. That also was.
Batman orders. It's when Batman ordered what's his name?
Oh, Batman. Batman tells Alfred to give birth to
Robin.
Then Alfred starts the procedure because that is his job.
That is his job. Oh, it was incredible.
Oh, man.
Absolutely, genius. That was one of the funniest things ever. It was incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely incredible. Oh, jeez, I'll tell you, my number 3 would be, I mean, it's been previously mentioned, obviously, F1. In general, I've gained a respect and a love for that sport, totally.
Mm-hmm.
Like, everything involved in it, and watching it every week. I mean, recording time, we are 2 hours away from the Saudi Grand Prix. Obviously, you're not going to hear what we thought about it until next week, but sweet Jesus, man, I'm so all in the F1 now, man. Obviously, I'm a huge Team Haas fan. Due to Drive to Survive. And I'm half into Drive to Survive, I'm half into the F1. All I could think last week watching Haas's performance was, this is going to be an awesome first episode of Drive to Survive. The Netflix cameras are going to be on about that, running about, while they're all jumping about celebrating 5th place. That's us. I mean, it's huge fan, and that's to you guys, man. I wouldn't have watched that on my own volition. It was through trying to be a good podcasty guy that I thought, right, I need to actually start watching F1 and trying to get into it.
Serious.
You take this shit serious, and fair play. I gave you guys wrestling, you gave me F1, man. It's awesome.
Win-win.
It's been a
definite win-win.
Aye.
I think to keep it moving, my sort of, if I was going to have a third thing, what would it be? I think just the process, just the fact that we get together every week and have a laugh. I think, and the fact that we've now, I mean, we're closing in 2,000 downloads. That's 100 episodes in the bag. Like off the back. I mean, I think we've told this story before, but the podcast came about because we've got a group chat that we had mostly. I mean, it was a lot to do with the pandemic that we sort of started this group chat to keep in touch. Because obviously you can't get out and about and do stuff. There's no nights out. Well, back then anyway. So there was a joke about Paul doing movie reviews. That we went back and forth on, and then I requested that. So the chat was that Paul was going to start a YouTube channel doing movie reviews, 1 word movie reviews or whatever it was, or 2 word, whatever the joke was. So then I requested that I'll be a co-host on the inevitable spin-off podcast. And then so that started a back and forth on podcasts. And then I says, do you know what? See if he's actually want to ever start a podcast. I'll handle the tech side of things. We'll make it as easy as possible so that we can just get going. And then we all kind of went, oh, all right, let's do that. It's just this, like, get a go.
Well, you
And
know,
here we are.
Here
Nearly
we are.
2,000 downloads, 100 episodes later.
I know, man. Episode 0 was some laugh, I remember, because it was all 3 of us were in bloody gaming headsets.
Aye.
And
We're
my
just going to go going with what we had.
my webcam wouldn't work.
That's right.
That's right, you need webcam.
I was a bit.
Dodgy webcam, you couldn't get the
His
webcam on.
laptop wasn't having
I
it.
was about to smash the laptop.
That's right, it took ages to go on. God, aye.
And then it was like, we'll just do it with. Right, okay. We can do it with it.
I didn't know how to get my audio on, so even with a gaming headphone, I was still getting picked up by the computer audio. So it sounded like I was far away.
Aye.
Well, I remember the listen through the episode 0, and I'm like, I need to get a microphone. This is fucking terrible. I can't sound like this. I've got the loudest voice of the 3 and you can barely hear me.
The first few episodes that we did were hilarious for all the wrong reasons.
Aye. Pretty rough, weren't they?
If you can ever get your hands on that stuff, it's worth a listen. Just for if you put up with the bad audio quality, it's funny.
It's so well, man. Aye.
Oh,
God. But just going back to your point, and Mike, that's one thing that I appreciate from all this as well is the fact that the 3 of us actually get on here every week and sit down and have a lot. Like even before we start recording, we just have a wee catch up, a wee laugh, what's going on, and whatever. I just shoot the shit.
It's like an hour of shooting the shit.
And then, because that's one thing with me. I'm terrible for staying in contact with folk. Like, honestly, the worst.
Aye.
Yeah. It's no easy being on the other side of the world, man.
This is no word of a lie, no making this up. Previous to this stuff, and kind of to the degree previous to the group chat, but even with the group chat at times back in the day, you could message Harvey and hear nothing back for like a month, 2 months. And then he would send you a message back that was a direct reply to what you'd sent him. You've not heard from him so long, and then he just goes straight back into the conversation.
No, honestly, it's because I read it and I'll be busy doing something. So I'll be like, right, I'll once I've done this, I'll message back. And then I forget about it. And then I'll be like, oh. But in my mind, because I forgot about it, and then like when I remember, I'm like, nah, man, I sent him a message back. So he's no reply to me, right? Okay,
so that motherfucker's not got back to me in ages.
Right. And then by the time I look at the messages, I'm like, oh shit, I didn't reply. So then I reply.
Just remember, there was a random Thursday night you video called me and Mick at like 1 a.m.
Aye.
I remember.
Aye.
I've got in a pub talking about some Cuban guy that reminded you of Stevie from college. 20 years ago. This guy's just like Steve. That's awesome.
Oh man. Aye. It's because I forget the time difference as well. What happened that day was the beach was closed or whatever. Because I think we were on the beach at them time. Aye. So we all just went drinking. And so when I phoned...
3 hours later.
Aye.
Harvey's phoning us up in the middle of the night.
It's so funny, man.
I didn't realise. Was it till
And then
the next day?
you gave your phone to the guy and buggered off.
I just
Aye.
went to the bar. We're just sitting there with this Cuban fella, like awkward silence, like, all right, mate.
Oh man.
God, that was funny.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
Paul Mick and the Cuban guy.
Aye.
That was random as hell, man. Aye. God almighty. But it's been awesome. It's a good catch up every week.
Aye.
I know. I certainly have come to depend on the banter every week. It keeps me going. Definitely, it's ideal for social kind of reasons, and it's good that folk actually, for some reason, really enjoy us bantering as well. Like that's the big.
Aye.
I remember my expectations were literally snake's belly. Like if 6 people listen to us, that means 3 people have listened apart from us. That's awesome. Things like
I remember having us sitting talking like, well, you know, it's a good laugh for us. It's good, you know what I mean? We enjoy doing it. You know, we might only get a couple of listeners, but that's cool. That's good with me. You know what I mean? I was happy with that, you know what I mean? But then to see like the amount of folk like, oh, actually, and then building upon that now, and it's like, oh, we could actually do more with this now. So it's gone in the right direction as well. I think like each month we gain more listeners. Like, it's brilliant.
Aye, going by the numbers, we must be.
Aye. Even if it's just one or two,
somebody's
like
listening.
it's
So I mean, I suppose this is an opportunity to, as much as I enjoy doing this, and I've got kind of gratitude for you guys for the time we spend together and the chat that we have. Also a massive thank you to everybody that listens,
aye.
because as much as it's great for us, if we weren't getting downloads, we would stop. We wouldn't. We'd keep in touch with one another. Maybe we'd still go on and do like a Skype call or whatever every week or every other week. But if we're being honest with ourselves, we wouldn't keep doing the podcast if nobody was listening. You know what I mean?
Aye, exactly.
Well,
man.
aye.
Aye, just a massive thank you to everybody for listening, for sharing.
Absolutely.
Aye.
Absolutely, man. Definitely. It's good to see.
That is good to
Definitely, it's
see.
good to see.
Is there anything going on currently in sports that we want to talk about?
Oh,
Before we
one
move
thing
on
that I
into
wanted to say, stupid as fuck, that it's changing now though. Well, it should change this
Okay.
week.
Right.
I think I cut it for the final. It didn't make the final cut in one of my episodes, but I did talk about how in certain sports and in certain states that if you didn't have the vaccine, you couldn't play sports in that state, right? So New York was one of them, right?
Right.
So Kyrie Irving, right? It's the biggest
of course,
name.
Brooklyn Nets player.
Yeah, Brooklyn Nets player. He's one of the biggest ones. He couldn't play in any of the home games, but go away out of state or whatever, he could play in every game. However, tell me how this makes sense, right? He wasn't vaccinated, so he couldn't play. However, he could be in the crowd and watch them play.
What?
Exactly. How stupid.
So he could be in the building, but he couldn't play.
He was literally sitting with the fans and that, watching the games, but he couldn't go on the court and play.
He could arguably be closer to strangers than on the court.
Where's the sense in that? Do you know what I mean? So they're changing that. I think on Thursday they're supposed to change that. Where they can, it's like, wow, how does that make sense?
So hilarious.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
Bravo, America. Well done yourself.
Aye.
Sorry, just had
That's just health and safety gone mad.
Aye.
That is the silliest thing
I
I've
know,
ever
man.
heard of.
so ridiculous.
Bloody. Aye, good old COVID rules, man. That's one thing over the period of the podcast. It's all been gradually going back to normal. Like that's a long running theme of the podcast. Just about is the sports having fans again and all that sort of thing. Like it's, but that's quality, man. That's hilarious.
I don't. Doesn't make sense. Anyway.
Oh, jeez. man.
Oh, God.
Did you catch any of the fights for the UFC last night at all?
I saw your man Dackhouse get beat again, aye. Is it Dackhouse? Dackhouse? Duckhouse?
Duckus.
Docus!
Or Duckus?
It took me a wee while.
Daucus, that's it.
Docus, that's him.
Oh, Christ.
I went round the pronunciations there like a wheel.
Duckus.
Right.
I mean,
That was
Curtis Blades.
that was impressive for Blades.
Sorry, aye. Curtis Blades, like, I don't know, man, sometimes he's a bit hot and cold, isn't he?
Aye.
Sometimes he comes out and he's just like amazing, and then other times it's just like,
You
what are you
underperform
doing?
sometimes. Aye.
Aye. Then
I saw
Jojo.
He had a wee bit of post-fight kind of banter about it as well, that Blades guy. He was saying the Docus should be a light heavyweight.
I'll be honest. I skipped the interview. I didn't hear his interview.
Aye, I was saying it. He wasn't trying to like throw shade. I think it
Aye.
was the expression he used, but he was saying Docus probably suits being a light heavyweight.
He's a bit fluffy.
He carries a bit of chunk, doesn't he? Docus, aye.
I think it would be a serious lifestyle change for him to go down to light heavyweight. Because he's no small, but he's no got the bulk of a sort of proper heavyweight at the same time. So, it wouldn't. It's no. I don't think he would need to like start doing a ton of cardio to drop some muscle mass. It would be like he would need to just upend his diet and maybe just change his training a wee bit. Maybe add in a wee bit more cardio or some HIIT training or something just to get his body composition a bit different. I think he would still have a bit of a weight cut though. You know what I mean? I can see him sort of being nice and lean and in shape. He'd probably still be sort of low 220s or something. But it's like there's no question in my mind that if he wanted to, he could fight at light heavyweight. He could make the weight.
Aye.
Alright.
So, interesting point of view.
What about Joanne Wood, by the way? Because that didn't he?
She got.
So,
Go ahead, mate.
well.
she was in control of the fight. She was getting the better of the striking. But there was a kind of sloppy exchange where they got into a bit of a scramble against the cage, and Jojo went for a hip toss that didn't go her way, and Grasso was able to get her back, and she pretty quickly got her hooks in and locked up a real naked choke. So it's the same old Jojo thing. Like, her grappling consistently lets her down. It's just a shame, man. She spends a lot of time working on it, and she's made a ton of improvements over the years on her jiu-jitsu ability, but her defence just seems to consistently let her down when it comes to grappling. She's got legitimately world-class striking. She's a very good Thai boxer. She's got a traditional Thai boxing style. She's legitimately world-class with her striking, but her grappling just consistently lets her down.
I've just seen that's 4 and 5 now. She's lost. Like, she's probably approaching the old Sugarly Peg on the contract side for the UFC. Usually when you're losing that much, you're out.
She's great for them to have if they're planning on putting on more fights in Scotland, which I really hope they are. Because she's popular in Scotland and the UK as a whole, I think. And she's rarely in a boring fight because she brings quite an aggressive striking style. So she is a fun fighter, but unfortunately, she's not got a great record over her last few fights. So she's going to have to go back to the drawing board and figure something out here. She can't afford to continue on the way she is, because it'll seriously cut her career in the UFC short if she doesn't start putting it all together and winning big fights.
Negative W's.
The Matt Brown and Brian Barberena fight was phenomenal. I said that was going to be a good one, and Jesus Christ, I'm not surprised it was a good fight, but I didn't expect it to be quite as good as it was. That was a fight of the year contender. That was really good. If you haven't seen that, please check it out.
That's worth a check, aye.
Really fun back and forth one. It was a good night of fights. Crack cards. What about actually 1FC, 1X?
What about one, by the way? Did you guys catch the results for that, by the way?
Oh, aye.
I watched it, man. I had a long day yesterday. I watched basically if I got up to. I fell asleep watching the UFC. I had to finish the UFC this morning when I got up. For the moment I got up, I was pretty much watching combat sports yesterday. One FC or one X from one FC, phenomenal, man. Just a great set of fights. I think they could probably have cut the card down. I don't think they needed quite as many fights as they had. I know that it's a big 10-year celebration, so I get it. But they could probably have trimmed the first 3 or 4 fights and put them on a different card or something. But nevertheless, man, cracking set of fights.
That's why they had it. They had it in 3 parts.
This was part 1, part 2, and the grand.
Because they had so many. Because obviously,
it was basically it was like the undercard's undercard, then the undercard, then the main event, or the main card. Aye. What you saw some of it, Harvey, or what's the deal?
I seen pretty much most of it, man.
Most of it.
And I didn't.
None of it. What happened with Mighty Mouse?
I didn't message until the last fight. I was like, oh, aye, what FC?
Mighty Mouse and Rod Tang, it went pretty much as we predicted.
Aye.
That is.
Mighty Mouse hung in there in the first round. Rod Tang went after it. He started a lot faster than he usually does. He knew what he had to do, and he went for it. Mighty Mouse survived, and then second round was just Mighty Mouse just it was just cerebral. He just stalked him, run about the ring, run about the cage, waited for his moment, shot in for a takedown, and then once he got him down, it was just chess. It was just like your move, my move, your move, my move, and then I looked up a choke, and that was that.
That was the way he was going to win it, though, wasn't it? Do you know what I mean? As good as he is on his feet, he was throwing back some stuff himself when he was in the first round.
He did pretty well in the first round. He was.
I dare say if it was sorry,
against a lot of other guys, he would have got a knockout. Some of the punches he landed, but Rod Tang's just a bloody cyborg, man. He's unreal. The chin in him is ridiculous.
I know. I say if that was a full Muay Thai fight, Rod Tang would have demolished him by the end. But the way it was, it was brilliant.
It just shows you, though, oh, sorry, mate. I was going to say, it just shows you the kind of the skill that these MMA guys have got. Where, like, I think it was Michael Bisping that was talking to Simon Jordan and Talksport about it. And he was saying we're learning 6 separate Olympic sports, like elite level sports, and we're doing them all at once.
Yep.
So,
I
mean, he's living and surviving against one of the best kickboxers out there. Like, and then Thai boxers. Sorry, aye. Whoops.
Aye. No. MMA, like, if you're a true student of MMA, like, you've got to learn all these different classes of martial arts. Like, it's a lot to think about. You've got to have some heat in your shoulders to do that, because it's not just one you're sitting specifically to.
The absolute best in MMA are like world class across the board. They're not necessarily the best Thai boxer or kickboxer in the world. They're not necessarily the best amateur wrestler in the world. They're not necessarily the best grappler, jiu-jitsu player, judoka, whatever in the world.
Aye.
But they're world class at each discipline, and when you add it all up, they boot the shit out of any other discipline because they're so high level at all the different things. You know what I mean? You bring a high level boxer in, they're going to take them down and boot the shit out of them. You bring in a kickboxer, Thai boxer, they're going to take them down and boot the shit out of them. If you know what I mean, if you bring in a really good jiu-jitsu guy or whatever else, they're just going to dance round about them and kick fuck at them. See how I'm using all the technical terms here?
Aye, you're getting real scientific.
That's all you need, man. Just not pocket them.
Aye, but
applying science.
The flip side is that a lot of people are attracted to MMA these days at a kind of more local level, where it's the same kind of guys that would do like blue collar boxing or underground boxing or whatever the case, bare knuckle stuff. Although bare knuckle seems to be a wee bit more highbrow these days, but just barely. But aye, so that there is 2 sides to the coin. But the guys that are truly world class are on another level. And DJ, man, Mighty Mouse Demetrius Johnson is legitimately one of the best ever in mixed martial arts. His level of skill was far superior to 99% of any fighter in any discipline.
But the thing is, you'll not get
so
that
good.
recognition properly
Because he's small.
because the
he's a wee
weight
guy.
class.
Yep, which is a shame.
But if you put that skill set in a bigger fighter, huge.
If somebody like Ngannou had the skill set of DJ, oh my god, you might as well just like give him America or whatever other country he wants, because that's a different kind of human.
Aye.
You know what I mean? He's got the physical sort of prowess there. If he had the skill set, like aye.
Did you? So, obviously you watched the whole thing. What did you think about the John Wayne Parr and Edward Foley?
Totes a mosh, man.
I see he left his gloves in the ring.
Aye. So that was his retirement fight. I've been a fan of John Wayne Parr for a long time. There was a TV show years ago. I'm trying to remember what it was called. It was like sort of Tough Enough or something. I don't remember what it was called. Basically, it was based off The Ultimate Fighter, right? So The Ultimate Fighter did well. It was the boom of reality TV. So somebody put together this TV show, I believe in Australia originally, and it sort of spanned out. And basically it was John Wayne Parr and a bunch of other kickboxers / Thai boxers living in a house together or in a villa or whatever it was, and training together and then having fights. And then the idea is like one of them wins and then they got money and a contract or whatever else, I don't know. So John Wayne Parr, like, he was one of the guys that was on this. I came across this TV show years ago, whenever it was that it was on.
The Contender.
The Contender. There you go. What do you got the dates there? Do you know when it was?
The 2008.
Right. So I've been sort of following his career since round about then, but he's been fighting since probably early 2000s or something. He's been going for, in fact, probably before that. I think he said he's been fighting for 30 years or 35 years. Because obviously would have started as a teenager. But he's just a massive legend in Thai boxing and kickboxing. He was like the first or one of the first white guys to go and live and train in Thailand and win fights at the big stadiums shows in Thailand and stuff. So he's an absolute legend, man. So it was a good fight. Like it could have went either way. You know what I mean? It was. It was a good fight. Both of them had their moments. So I'm gutted for him that he was chasing his 100th win.
Oh, is it?
Kickboxing and Thai boxing.
I didn't know that.
If he got that, I mean, that would have been the icing on the cake. If in his retirement fight he got his 100th victory, that would have been really cool. But sort of hats off to him, man. He's had a great career.
He has, so a long one. His first fight was in 1988. That's an 11-year-old. Right.
His daughter's one to watch. She's fought a good few Thai boxing fights. She's recently won a boxing title in Australia, and she's training in MMA. So I think she's been in talk. I don't know how far it's went, but I think she's been in talks with one. So we could see her fighting in one in the near future. So it's Jazzy Parr. I think she's like 19 or 20 or something like that.
Aye, Jasmine Parr, 19 years old.
She's really talented. So she's really good. She's definitely one to watch out for.
Absolutely.
Aye. So was there anything else? Paul, you
Christian Eriksen scored yesterday. Obviously, that was
this fella that collapsed.
First international. Aye. So obviously he returned to football kind of in January with Brentford.
Right.
He's had a few club games. He had his first international yesterday, and that was against the Dutch. He scored when he came on. So good to see a positive end to that story. Or a continuation of that story, I suppose. It's not the end to retires healthy, but epic to see, man. Epic to see. I think the Dutch fans were actually clapping.
Probably would have been.
What's the deal? Do you know what the script is? Like, is he had to have like a pacemaker fit or something like that?
He's got a device within his heart now that kind of will kick it back into rhythm if it kind of goes off, or if something kind of goes wrong. So I mean, there was a ruling. Obviously, it was with Inter Milan at the time, and there's a rule within Italian football, Serie A, that you cannot play with one of these fitted to your heart.
Mm-hmm.
So he was released for his contract there, and that's why he's now back playing in England again. But he appears to be doing just fine. Like he's back to the top level again. Brentford have even kind of started playing a little better with him in the team. No wonder, like, because he's
experienced,
he's world class.
Really good.
He's a very good player. So good story.
Off the back of that, just when you're talking about devices in the heart, have you read about Triple H? Old Hunter Hart Ramsey.
He's that's him now. He's done.
He's announced he's officially retired for in-ring.
To be fair, he is some bloody age. I don't think it should come as a surprise that he's retired.
He's not had that official kind of retirement match. I know it is big in pro wrestling. There's a tradition, especially for the guys that kind of make it, if you like, that they have a big send-off, they have their retirement match on a big stage, and they put over one of the young guys. That's the tradition for a retiring pro wrestler. But so apparently he's got a defibrillator thing fitted in his heart now.
And he said that I think that was Ariel Hawani he was talking to, wasn't it?
The story was that he had quite a severe lung infection, and that led to basically, I think, I don't know, stuff getting in his system, God knows what, that weakened his heart, and then his heart started failing on him. It was basically at death's door. It was really bad.
Sounds like it was dicey. Like I think he'd spoke to the fear of being put under, like, for an operation and no knowing whether that was him getting the old 3 count in life, kind of no waking back up, etc., etc. You wonder how it'd be. I imagine the guy will be remembered positively.
By
wrestling fans.
Aye.
I mean, he's
cracking matches and feuds, and he's a big part of the NXT getting to its sort of highest point that it got to. So
Black and Gold NXT was a treat for a few years that he brought to the floor. Like that was largely him driving that and driving kind of light heavyweight wrestlers that could work.
I think
better and faster.
The biggest negative on him was how he kind of booked some of his own matches over the years, and his reluctance to put some people over. But I think what he's done out with that kind of overshadows that. I think he'll be remembered fairly well.
But remember more for his hits than his misses. I think he for the era he came from, where politicking was arguably as important as in-ring ability. I was a hell of a politicker, and he maybe was responsible for poorer decisions than others, like him going over others. But I mean, that shouldn't take away from in-ring that he was probably one of the best kind of heavyweight wrestlers of his generation. Like, he couldn't pick a specific Triple H match that's amazing, but it doesn't take away from the fact that in ring he was a brilliant heel wrestler. Like he could pace a match well in his heyday. Like to get over the hero, like he was good at it. He definitely was. He's Hall of Fame talent level, certainly.
Yep.
And rightly so. Seen as that. Absolutely, man. But well, he's got 3 daughters. Obviously, his wife is still works with the WWE, Stephanie McMahon. I mean, he's about to see his daughters grow up. I think that's more important, arguably.
He's 52, 53, something like
52,
that.
man.
Yep.
You can't all be stunning.
Exactly. Getting smashing.
You can't all be
I don't
stunning.
think many of us would want to be.
Oh, I'd love it.
It's great to watch, but I mean, a guy in his 60s shouldn't be diving off for stuff like that. I don't think.
I don't know how you feel, but see, any time he gets up onto a top rope or on a balcony, I'm like, don't die, for fuck's sake, don't die.
Like, I was thinking, like, oh, Christ, here goes his pelvis. Oh no. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, he's going to do his hip. Oh no.
It's ridiculous.
Aye, bravo to him. What a guy.
He's a marvel. He does more now at 63 than he done at 45 physically.
Aye.
And his matches, like he's doing more now.
Yeah.
You wonder what it is that's making him kind of want to do all that. Like,
I kind of wonder if maybe he always wanted to have more of this kind of style, but he backed himself into a corner with the character that he came up with.
With the gimmick?
Aye, because, I mean, if you go back to his run in WCW, it was mostly just him mean mugging. You know what I mean? It was just him looking really hard and scaring folk. And then, you know what I mean? He had his big moves that he would hit. And the fans would go crazy for him. But more often than not, he would just appear up in the rafters at the side of the ring and look terrifying. And that was his thing. You know what I mean?
It was more about the character than it was the work.
And obviously back then as well, it was a bit more old school. Like you had your weird guys that did the high flying and the big guys didn't do it. So
that's
it's a wee bit.
The wee guys exclusively done it, wasn't it? Really.
Nowadays, you've got a few more big guys that are keen to jump about. So I think he's maybe just exploring a side of his game that he's never been alluded to before, sort of thing.
At the very edge of his career.
Wild.
2 years for a bus pass, man.
It's brilliant. I love to see
He's
it, man.
chatting himself.
Love to see it.
Oh, it's awesome. That in general, by the way, on that Dynamite, there was last week. By the time this comes out, Hardy Boys, Darby Allin, and Sting. It was like Attitude Era madness, wasn't it, man?
Just pure mayhem, but I loved it. It was like you didn't know what was going on, but it was like, fuck it, it's brilliant. There's everything that was going on. Like, you once to see me, I was in here and I was going crazy. I was watching it.
Oh,
I was watching it live, and JJ, she was looking at me, and I was just like, do you know that way when you're sitting next to somebody and you know something's got to happen, and you're tapping them like, watch this, watch this. That was me. I was like, oh, look, because like, you know when they went into the back, and then I just seen the tables, and I seen the ladder. I was like, oh my god. I was like, look. Jeff Hardy's got to take that ladder. He's got to go up it. He's got to do this thing with his fingers, and he's got to swanton off it. And she was like, "What the fuck are you doing?" It's like, what's wrong with you? She was like, "You've been smoking crack or something?" Like, I was like, "What?" I'm doing the motion when Jeff Hardy does his fingers. I'm doing it too, like.
It was so much fun, man. It was.
It's his wee dance when he comes in and all. He's got
the fucking snake hands, doesn't he, man? Even still.
God. Coming down the ring and he's
really
there dancing. Like, yes, love it.
It was great fun, man. It was. That was definitely one of the high points last week. It was a weird episode of telly. There was a lot of it I didn't agree with as an AEW fan, but that certainly brought a big smile.
That was brilliant. I loved that.
That brought a hell of a smile. That was epic.
Shall we round it up with something funny? If you've got something funny, you got a joke or a story.
Why no? A wee story.
We'll have a wee laugh before we go.
Good shout, man.
I don't know if I've got
who's hitting it up first.
No, me.
No. I'm sitting in a joke that I was going to tell a couple of weeks ago and I forgot all about it. So I do hope that I can remember it properly.
Warm us up.
Right.
Warm us up then. Go for it, man.
So a guy goes into a pub. He sits down at the bar. He taps the bar and shouts the barman over. He says, "Give us a shot, mate. Give us a shot of whiskey." So he takes a shot, knocks it back. And he says, "Barman, what's that big jar of money up on the shelf there? What's that for?" So the barman says to him, "You see that big guy over there? Right, there's this massive unit of a man sitting at the end of the bar." He says, "Nobody can knock him out. If anybody can knock him out cold, they get that jar of money." The guy looks at the big guy, looks at the barman. "Oh shit. Give us another shot, fella." So he takes another shot, knocks it back. As he goes to order another shot, he notices there's a second jar of money. So he shouts the barman over. He says, "Here, what's that jar of money for?" The barman says, "Well, there's this pit bull at the back, right? The owner's pit bull. He's got something wrong with his teeth. He's got this dead tooth in his mouth that's decaying. But he can't take him to the vet. Nobody can get near the dog. It's an angry pit bull." Right? So he says the owner's put that up there. If anybody can pull the tooth out the dog, they get that jar of money. So he thinks for a second. Oh shit. Give us another shot of whiskey, my man. So he takes another shot, knocks it back. He's just waiting his turn, waiting for the barman to come back. He notices a third jar of money over at the end of the far end of the shelf. So he shouts the barman over again. He says, "What's that jar of money for?" So the barman says, "Well, there's a blonde bombshell rents the flat upstairs. She's never had an orgasm in her life, so she says. So if anybody can make her come, they'll get that big jar of money right there." The guy's like, "Oh, no shit, okay. Give us another shot, but I tell you what, make it a double this time." So knocks back the double. Rubs his hands and he says to the barman, "Do you know what? I'm going to go for all three." So he stands up, charges to the end of the bar, whack, punches the big fella, knocks him off his stool, knocks him out cold. He says, "All right then." Turns around, stomps out the back of the pub. There's a commotion, the barking. It sounds hellish. And then the dog starts whimpering. And then silence. The barman's thinking, "Oh God, it's killed him." But sure enough, he comes stomping back in, slams his hand down in the bar and he says, "Right, where's this big blonde with the loose tooth?"
Yes. So commotion.
Oh, God.
Fucking right, it's like commotion.
Bestiality humour for you there.
I mean that bestiality related humour. That was brilliant, man. I'm into that. That was class. Fantastic.
Oh,
You've done it again, man. Making his penis jokes, man. Oh,
Dirty
Jesus, man.
jokes. Love it.
Love it, man. Love it. Oh, jeez. What we were talking about off air about norovirus, weren't we? Because my missus's daughter potentially had that through the week there. She was been sick and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And it took me back to a few years ago, about 5 years ago now, something like that. Before I met the missus, I was still with my ex-partner, and everybody in the house had norovirus, apart from me. I had a kind of an iffy belly, thought I'd missed it, and I decided I wanted to get a haircut, so I left the house thinking, "Oh, good, get a wee haircut." I feeling good as well. Went to the garage, got my wee Whisper Gold, my wee can of cola. Driving towards there, and felt a wee rumble in my belly. Thought, "Oh, a fart! I've missed farting." Pushed the fart, and the fart made a kind of squelch noise. Shat myself. So that's my joke. I can confirm to the airwaves. Shat myself. The shock as a grown man enjoying yourself is like nothing else in the world. The only noise I made was "ah!" Oh dear. The shuffle going back across to my house, coming out of the car was... You ever walk for the knees below? I basically walked for the knees below. Just leg movements from knee to foot as I ran in the house, ashamed for a shower. So that is indeed my story, my joke. Some may find that funny. Some may find that odd that a man tells
sure
on a
there'll be a few
podcast.
listeners just shaking their heads.
So I thought I'd share that.
Aye.
Since we're in a sharing mood today, lads. It was a nightmare.
Oh, dear.
A nightmare. So if you're coming out of norovirus, ladies and gentlemen, never, ever, ever push a fart.
Never risk it.
Don't risk it.
Never risk it. It's not worth it.
Okay. Right, well, shall we wrap it up there then?
Aye.
That'll do me, man. That'll do me.
Right, so as I said
That'll do,
before,
donkey.
if you have done, thank you very much for listening. We really appreciate everybody that listens, that spreads the word, that shares the podcast with your friends and family. So please keep it going, and sort of here's to the next 100 episodes, I suppose.
Yeah.
And back to the regularly scheduled programming next week. So we'll have Combat Spuds, Wrestle Mash, and the Weekly Mix and Mash all back in full force next week. So we'll see you then.
Here's a
Bye-bye,
fun
driver.
fact.
Yes.
Oh, I've been Mick.
Oh.
They've been having Paul.
Aye.
Bye-bye the
Oh,
now.
wait.
Bye-bye. Fun fact.
Oh.
Fun fact. Squirrels can survive a fall from pretty much any height.
Okay.
There's some end. There's some end to show him right there.
Has there been scientific studies doing this, or is it
Yes.
just one guy
It's-
flinging squirrels off a
it's
building
just-
and stuff?
Well, it's not a scientific study, is it? They can't see the front off this building. It's because... Bye, driver.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Do not pick up a squirrel.
Please don't try
And don't
that.
push
Do
back.
not try that.
It was on.